Hello there, and welcome to Dharma Science Radio. My name is Ian, and my purpose here is to provide you with the most practical, valuable, and, truthful awareness around the human design system and what it means when you look at a body graph that I can possibly deliver. So today we're talking about someone that I've enjoyed watching on the television. We're talking about Adam Scott. I really enjoyed him in Parks and Rec, and his position in that new show Severance is also pretty interesting. And so my first thing I'd like to say is, Adam, if you happen to see this and you would like it taken down, I understand, just let me know. Simply know in truth, I would much rather have a conversation with you about this stuff instead of trying to censor the truth. So if you're interested in being shocked in a good way, let's dive into this stuff together. And with that business out of the way, let's pull up the chart. So today, right now, what we're looking at is the 5-1 profile. So if you've been following along, you'll know we've spoken about the 5-1 a few times now. The fifth line is always receiving the positive expectation from other people, and that can make them paranoid. The fifth line is able to really seduce the other. The fifth line is a powerful profile. It is generally seen in an exalted form through the classical I Ching. And the fifth line is here to deliver the goods. And if they can deliver something practical and valuable to you, then you generally see them as the savior, as the wonderful person who can really do incredible things. And if what they deliver is not practical, well, you generally see them as the heretic. And we don't like heretics, These are the people that we've burned at the stake, literally and metaphorically. These people, depending upon their delivery, either gain wonderful reputations or terrible reputations. Either way, they gain a reputation. This fifth line always has a reputation, one way or the other. And so my suggestion for you, if you find yourself with a fifth line in your profile, is to deny and reject projections you don't want to deliver on. Only deliver what you believe in. Only deliver what's true for you. Only deliver what makes sense to you. You must be practical, otherwise they're going to hate you. So keep that in mind, fifth lines. And we're dealing with the first line in the unconscious. So this means that the unconscious is generally coming from a solid foundation, that the unconscious is generally rooted in a sense of fear that drives intelligence, and it holds on to positions it can defend. It's not just going to make shit up, generally. And so something we're working with here is the fifth line of the 21 in an undefined ego center. Now you see right here, this ego is undefined. So this person, Adam Scott right here, quite literally, his sense of self-worth can be very dependent upon his ability to take control of the situation. Do other people recognize his ability to take control? Do they praise him for that? Well, it probably feels wonderful. Oh, you did such a great job. Thank you so much for your help. You really saved me. Oh, how juicy that feeling is for the mind of a person amplifying these open and undefined centers. And the thing is too, is there's this 35th gate in the undefined throat center. This sense of, I've had enough. It's time for change. What kind of change is coming through? Well, from the unconscious, it's simply hunger. It's simply hunger. I am hungry for change. I'm hungry for new experiences. And over here in the conscious, it's altruism. This is, I am hungry for change that makes a positive difference in the life of others. How sweet is that? Isn't that nice? And that's only possible by honoring the personality Jupiter, this gate of contraction in the line of contagion. This man has fantasies. This man has desires. And when he honors the nature of his fantasies and his desires, then he has the ability to actually be altruistic. He has the ability to provide something truly practical and valuable to the other. However, that's on the good side of things. And as we know, we're talking about human design. We're talking about deep, deep, deep subtleties in the mechanics of reality itself. We're talking about form principle and the nature of objects moving through space and time. We're not just talking about fantasies here. And so what we're dealing with is an undefined solar plexus, an undefined ego, an undefined throat, an undefined ajna, and a wide open crown. You know, I have this sensation that the wide open crown is actually a very good position for an actor in a movie or a role in a TV show. For the wide open crown, there are things that matter, there are things that don't matter, and it doesn't really matter so much the difference between the two. For the individual with this configuration, it really doesn't. They kind of blur the lines between the two. And I know this because I happen to be one of these. When I was younger, specifically what did not matter was the most important thing in the world. Now that I've grown a bit, I've started to see the difference between what does and doesn't matter. And so I don't overeat on the junk food, if you know what I mean. Sure, I can allow myself a treat, especially after I've done good work. And yet it doesn't rule my life anymore. And this person, Adam, is a generator. He looks like he's definitely felt frustration. You see, he's a split definition generator who's trying to avoid problems by taking control and proving his worth. All he needs is your attention, and then he can pretend to be certain about something that doesn't matter. All he's got to do is pretend to be certain about something that doesn't matter, and then he can avoid the problems, he can take control and be shocking and receive your attention, receive the validation that you can give him. And when he's had enough, this 35th gate, I've had enough, I'm moving on. That was nice, okay, bye. And as a fifth line, that's good for you, to be able to have your impact and then leave. You really need to be able to give space for the impact to land. If you just try to fill up every single empty moment with more and more and more and more and more, like an undefined throat might be tempted to, this temptation to fill in the empty space. Oh, well, if the space is empty, then they'll think I'm worthless and I don't know how to take control. They'll create all these problems for me if I just leave the space open, so I need to fill the space with how certain I am about something that doesn't matter. And what a joke of the mind that is. However, you might have heard, I mentioned this as split definition. We've got sacral to the G, and then we've got root to the spleen. Now, root to the spleen, this means he needs exercise. Really, he needs exercise. He needs to sweat. He needs to release the salt inside his body and then consume new, fresh, healthy salt. When you have splenic root definition like this, being able to replace and replenish your salt storage is very important for your health. Otherwise, your stress is going to go out of whack and your health is going to go out of whack. And the thing is, we're talking split definition. So there are specific gates that are really important to this person. There are certain things that Adam really feels like he needs if he's listening to his mind. If he's identified with what he's thinking up in his noggin, which is any kind of which way, there's simply some kind of belief system in there that has to do with attuning to ideas or ideals and hopefully finding peace. And yet if he's identified with this amplification field of the not-self, there are a few themes that are incredibly important, and we'll scroll down and look at them now. The bridging gates of the simple split. The gate of growth. This is all about bringing things to their completion and to the maximum potential. The gate of inaction. This is the ability to pause and to reflect and the gate 57, the gate of insight and the gate of intuition. This is a very subtle, penetrating intuition into what is. And so what does his mind really want? His mind really thinks, okay, I just need to pause. And as soon as I pause, as soon as I stop, then I will receive the intuitive insight I need to complete something. It's very important to finish what he started as far as his mind is concerned. And if I can't finish it, I need to just stop. And once I stop, then I'll receive the intuition that allows me to complete what I've started. And how challenging that can be for him. He's probably great at starting new things. He's probably terrible at finishing things. Maybe he tries to meditate, and maybe sometimes it brings something to completion, and yet not always, because he's not built for completing things. Literally, he's not built to finish what he started. And if you're in a similar position where you've got the 53rd gate down here in the root and you don't have the 42nd, you find yourself starting all kinds of new things and never finishing everything, please do not judge yourself for that. Please, it's not your fault. You were not born to complete things. You're born to start new things. And if you can accept who you are, if you can allow that process to unfold, you will find your satisfaction. You will find the success, the peace, and the surprise that belongs to you in this life if you trust who you are. And only if you trust who you are. Because otherwise you'll be too busy trying to go, oh, stop, just stop, quiet down. I need to find my intuition. Otherwise, I'll never complete this. This is how I take control. And it's really not the way. He doesn't need things to stop. All he needs to do is respond. This body right now, this is a 34 to the 10. There is no intuitive insight in this vehicle. There is survival depth that will be able to transform the material world and rise up in the hierarchy if he lets the body live its life. You see, both of these channels are unconscious. All he's got is this 32 in the conscious for the channel. This is the nose for ambition. What ambition is genuine? What can actually rise up? What smells right? It's a logical judgmentation process. It's also a tribal process. Funny that I would call it logical. Technically, it's very much tribal. And yet it's that nose. It's the nose that knows, the sense. The ability to smell a rat, to smell when something is off. Not literally, not only literally, also abstractly, metaphorically. To smell when something is right or wrong. And yet it is his unconscious that actually does the transformation of this powerful process. You see, the 34th is the most powerful gate in the sacral, except for perhaps the 14th gate. And the 10 is the gate of behavior. That means if he trusts his body, then he loves himself. Because he's going to be busy. The 34 wants to be busy. It's always busy doing whatever it needs to do. And the 10 is the gate of behavior itself. And so if he can trust his body for making decisions, he doesn't have to force everything to wait and to stop. That's only when his mind wants to take control of the situation. And you know, with a 51st gate and a 21st gate in the personality, that can be his self-worth popping in. No, stop, pause, hold. I need to receive control. I need to feel validated in this moment. Because I'm too busy avoiding the problems inside myself. So I need your approval. And I need you to pause with me. Because we have to focus on something that doesn't matter and pretend that I'm certain. Please give me your attention and pause with me. And we can avoid this together. And yet the reality is that's only the mental amplification field that he's dealing with. When you take the mind seriously, you lose track of your intelligence and everything falls apart.
The biggest problem I was having was getting my head wrapped around all of the content and all of the information held within the human design system. Ian really made it simple for me to engage my curiosity for one, but made it approachable enough to where I felt like I could immediately get value out of the conversation and immediately start applying things to my day-to-day life where it didn't seem like some big puzzle I had to solve. It was an immediate solution to something that I was dealing with in my life. How am I going to apply this with any sense of reality? And he made it so simple and so easy that I have now been on another year and a half since that first meeting with him and my first introduction into human design. And it has really given my overall life experience and the quality of my conscious experience a great boost, and overall something I would highly recommend to anyone else that's early on in their years or even months sometimes, like I was at human design.
I've been following Ian for about a year now, and I got the chance to work with him recently. The way that his knowledge of human design expands when you're in his presence to fit what you need exactly is something that is a joy to work with and a joy to see live in person.
Oh my gosh, this session was so unique because Ian really made it feel like I didn't have to worry about expectations. I didn't have to have a certain outcome be a certain way, and really helped me understand that I could just kind of ease my way into this. And he was so conversational about it that it felt like I looked up and the time had gone so quickly that I wasn't expecting it to be as much value as it was for as easy as it felt.
I definitely recommend getting a reading, getting a chance to work with Ian. He's one of the kindest souls I've met and has a really firm grasp on the information in human design. Definitely recommend.
I would recommend working with Ian for anyone that is wanting to have someone that will be both there to nurture your curiosity about human design and the fun things that you can explore about it, but also will challenge you and push you in a direction that will get you up and moving and using it in your real life. I think more than anything else, if you want to not just mentally know this system, if you want to understand how to apply it and use it and see immediate results, Ian is the person I would recommend for that. I think it is important for people to remember that this is an experiment. It is not something that you can try without trying. Like can't get the flavor of something unless you've chewed it up and swallowed it, right? And this is one of those things where Ian does such a wonderful job of making each thing that you're experiencing understandable and allows you to apply it with repetition. So it's not just a one time thing. You learn how to build really good habits and how to build really good ways to honor your own authority in your own life. And from there, he lets you go and then you can fly. It's pretty remarkable how well he sets up my overall experience within human design for the purpose of changing my life, which it really did.
And yet when you trust the body to live its own life, he doesn't have to wait for clarity after all. He's not an emotionally defined being. His body's responding every single second. Oh, the temperature changed and the body responded. Oh, the sun came out and the body responded. Oh, somebody said something and the body responded. And yet it's so different when the mind is running and churning and churning and churning and churning on this stuff in here, and it loses sight of what the body says. The mind is so used to running the show, and yet it just does not work that way. Not in truth, not for the highest good of all. So if he truly wants to be altruistic, he needs to be able to trust his body for making its own decisions. And if he's having problems trusting his body making decisions, he needs to exercise. He needs to sweat. He doesn't need to just pause and sit and be still. He needs to exercise. He needs to be physically active in some way, or at the very least, he needs to sweat in the sauna. He needs to let go of that old salt. Otherwise, it's going to hold on to unnecessary water weight, and that water will be of a bad structure that's frustrated and bitter and upset about so many things because he's way too busy avoiding all the conflicts and the problems. Let me just transform the form. Let me just respond. I can take control, with the sun and an undefined ego. Let me shock you with how much control I have over the situation, because then you'll see that I'm truly worthy. How disgusting a mind like this can become when it's amplified and identified with. And yet the beauty of what is possible, to truly bring a transformation onto the material plane from this 3254, that can allow his tribe to survive and to flourish in the world, and this 3410 to really witness his own body moving and living its life. How wonderful it is when you can see your body moving on its own, independent of what you're thinking about. Because it doesn't matter what you think. It never did. Maybe it can help someone else. Doesn't matter for your life. Never did. And yet the mind is addicted to thinking it's in control, especially with the personality sun in the 21st gate of the 5th line in an undefined ego. When the not self is amplifying it, oh my God, it just goes on forever. And yet this is a generator. So when he feels that frustration, if there's even a moment of trust in it, that can change everything. The satisfaction of the generator, it dissolves all the frustrations. You can forget about them. You don't have to avoid problems, because when you're satisfied, the problems dissolve. Your body moves on its own. It does what it needs to do, and life is okay. And it can be that way for everyone, whether you're a generator or not. It's about giving authority back to where it belongs. And it never belongs with the mind. You see this Ajna chakra up here, the so-called third eye from ancient yoga? It belongs to the wholeness of all time and space itself. And the second we take this thinking mind personally, the second we use it for making decisions, we have abused ourselves fundamentally. And it's my wish for you to see beyond that, to see into the truth of your own unique gifts in this life. Nobody else can share what you can share. Nobody else can live how you live. Only you can polish the beautiful stone that you are, to reflect the wholeness of the world from the perspective that only you occupy. In the entire history of humanity, there is a truth inside you that others are waiting on. Don't you think it's about time we start letting it out? So I hope you've enjoyed the show. This has always been fun for me. It's a great exercise, and I really enjoy it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know down below. Anybody you'd like to hear me reading for, let me know. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you really want to get in on the best deals possible, become a member of the channel. Members of the open source Sangha have access to my time privately for about half off of what the ordinary minimum donation is. So if you really want to have this direct conversation and learn together, we can rapidly speed up this process of becoming self-aware. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. Take care. Bye for now. If you have enjoyed the show and would like to learn more about how all of this applies specifically to you, then kindly refer to the link in this video's description, Private Consultation. Here, we can dive into all of the details together in a recorded call. May your signature vibration of satisfaction, success, peace, and surprise find you in a good way.